What's the worst date you've ever been on? I went out for dinner and a movie with a guy. I tried to chip in money at both, but he insisted that he cover it all. At the end of the night, we're sitting in his car in the parking lot of the restaurant we had just eaten at, and he asks for a BJ saying I bought you dinner and took you to a movie. It's the least you can do. Thankfully I live nearby. I hopped out and walked home. Girl never showed up. I was stood up. I just moved to the bar and drank and ate buffalo wings. That sounds way better than a date. Met her in her adult soccer league. Asked her to grab breakfast that weekend. She accepted. Picked her up. Took her to a hole-in-the-wall diner. Ordered the garden omelette. Throughout the meal she talked about all the shit she was into. Breath play. Being dominated. Being hit, but not too hard. Whips and cuffs. As Kevin Hart would say. She was getting too kinky too fast. Got the check. Realized my wallet was in my gym bag from the night before. I apologized. She paid for us both. And I took her back to her place. She invited me in. And I couldn't refuse as she had just bought me a meal. An hour later. After the dirtiest 6 of my life up to that point. We were lying in bed when she gets a text and panics. Oh my god. You have to leave. My boyfriend got off work early and if he finds us he'll kick me out. This if the first I'm hearing of a so. And I realize that I just ducked a chick on her boyfriend's bed after she bought me breakfast with money he gave her. Duck. So I throw on half my clothes. Jump into my car. And knock over the mailbox in my rush to get the hell out of Dodge. When I get home, I see that my rear bumper has a nice new crack. TLDR. Took girl out for breakfast. Forgot wallet. Had to kinky 6. Found out she had a long-term boyfriend. Damaged my car in my getaway. And now she keeps texting me. Back in college I was invited to an ice rink with a girl I liked and some of her friends. I did not know how to ice skate and I did not pick it up very quickly but I wanted to try and impress her somehow. Well, I hugged the wall the whole time and made a fool of myself. The highlight was when I saw a flash of light as I fell in front of a group of people. Turns out I had fallen right at the moment someone took a picture so my failure was immortalized forever. She took me back to my apartment and ended the relationship before it began. On a lighter note, the woman who is now my wife was at that ice rink on that night. We didn't realize we were there the same time until a year or 2 into our relationship and she exclaimed, "You were that guy who couldn't ice skate." Yeah. She didn't seem that into you. Guy told me he just recently got out of a long-term relationship so he wasn't looking for a commitment but asked me if he could be my maintenance man as he stroked his pen 15 through his jeans. Wasn't necessarily the date, which was bad on its own. But the fact that she hung out in my parking lot for 2 hours after she dropped me off in case I changed my mind about doing something after dinner. Made a throwaway account just for this post. I paid him $20 in gas money to come pick me up because I lived fairly far away and figured it was fair. I then paid $45 for dinner plus a $7 tip. Then I bought $25 in shisha to smoke hookah together because he loves it. But was out of shisha. He then demands 6 in almost a rappy way and I declined because it was a first date. I wasn't even liking him enough to kiss him. He did this half cry thing in which no tears came out but he was sobbing. I ended the date there and asked to be driven home. He said he'd drive me home if I had sex with him. I ended up taking a ducking taxi home. I waited outside his house for 2 hours late at night waiting for the taxi. That's a whole other story of bullshit. Taxi company every 30 minutes kept saying we'll be there in 10 minutes. No. 2 ducking hours. Whole trip together cost me over $200 to have the worst date of my life. FDR. I don't mind paying for gas or dinner. That's fine. But then to treat me like shit? Duck you. Went on a blind date with a lady who wouldn't stop picking at her scabs. Just made a pile out of them on the restaurant table. I excused myself to use the washroom and when I came back my soup was there but the pile of scabs wasn't. No, I didn't eat the soup. We spent most of the date going shopping for clothes for another date she had later that week. It's kinda funny seeing as how she was the one that asked me out. Maybe she thought you were gay and just needed a buddy to go shopping and gossip with? Nah. She just met another guy she liked more between asking me out and the actual date. And I didn't care enough to protest. Hell. I met her when she was on a date with my roommate and decided she liked me better. That's just how she operates. About 10 minutes from picking a girl up, she asked me to pull to the side of the road to take a sheet and then proceeds to sheet in front of my car. Edit. This is now my most upvoted comment, so thank you for making me laugh about it again. I'm not sure if it could be considered a date. I've detailed this one in the past. From the internet dating catastrophes. And that post still gets comments on it. I'll retell this one though and link the comment if people want to see it. I was talking to this fairly attractive girl on OkCupid, I know right? I had left up a picture on my profile of back when I had a lot of weight on me. About 300 pounds and 5 feet 10. The picture was really only about a year old. After much exercise and dieting, I was about 190 and in great shape. I didn't think much of the picture and thought it would help to weed out the shallow girls. This fairly attractive girl, we'll call her Far for short, wanted to meet up. Far had some of the geeky interests I had sought and, like I said, attractive. I was shallow, yes, but we had enough in common. We decided to meet at the Denny's in the college town. I went there after work and she sent me a text saying she was inside already. I go inside and let the hostess know I was there to meet someone and she was there. I described her and the hostess said that she hadn't seen anyone like that. About a minute later, I got a text from Far and it said something like, "I only like bigger guys." Sorry, I don't remember what the actual text said. This was 2 years ago. It's still the only moment in my dating experience where being in shape was a negative for me. For all those curious, I am fat again, nothing near what I was. But I put on about 20 pounds is due to my current GF being preggers and forcing her cravings at me. But have no fear, I'll get back down to fighting weight. TLDR, a few burritos may have gotten me a soulmate that night. Alas, celery still makes me sad. Edit. Original post of internet dating disasters. Took girl to movies. I now realize not the best location for first dates. She asks, can my best friend come too? There goes my chances basically. I say of course you can. Trying to be nice. Was also assuming it was going to be a girl. Shows up with her friend, who is indeed a guy. This is when I find out that it's her one and only ex. But they remain best friends and nothing is happening between them. Well, this date is ruined. Let's try to salvage it. Go to pay for our tickets, me and her. Even when she offered to pay for hers. After buying, she turns around and buys her ex's ticket. We actually got along fine and they were nice people. But it was like a tug of war for the rest of the night, fighting for her attention. Of course I lose. They are best friends. When I get home, the guy adds me on Facebook. And he proceeds to tell me don't bother trying to date her. She's a terrible girlfriend. Thanks for the heads up. I finally got her alone for one more movie. But it all just sort of fell apart. I actually really liked her. But clearly I had no effect on her. Oh well, I guess. Take note, future daters. This is a bad idea. Met her at a party. Texted for a few days. She invites me to her house. Show up. Go to her room. Awesome start. Absorbed by texting. Like the entire room and myself melted away and the entire universe did not matter except for the couple of words on her 4-inch cell phone screen. Bombs could have been dropped. I could have stolen all of her stuffed animals, TV, clothes, and she would never know for hours. So, how have you been? Radio silence except for tapping at phone. Do anything fun the last few days? Nothing. I eventually stand up and go exploring in your house. Wander into the next room. Get caught by mom and sister. Cheat. But wait. They happen to be setting up Christmas decorations. They need a strong man to help. The sister is pretty. What the hell? This could turn out much better than expected. Snorting. Farting. Crazy. Annoying trailer trash is what I find in 5 minutes of conversation. And I'm the only one doing the decorating. Duck this. I say I'm going to leave and everyone goes silent. Really awkward exit like I'm some sort of leper. Duck that. Terrible. Embarrassing. Original girl invited me to a Halloween party a few years later. Found out she was engaged. Talked to the dude for a while. He was sitting down the whole night. Go to leave. He stands up and sticks his hand out for a handshake. Bro is missing fingers on his right hand and also has a legit peg leg. Guy was dressed as a pirate. Her life must be interesting. Made plans with this guy I knew from a charity I was on the board with. He takes me a chain Mexican restaurant. I pull up a few minutes early. But my dad flies a plane and was going to be flying overhead of the restaurant and I wanted to see him fly over. At 8 o'clock sharp. The guy calls me and tells me that I am late. I try to explain the whole flyby thing. He isn't having it. We go inside and I try to order some food and he tells me that we are not getting food and that I can't eat. Then he starts going off on major political rants which I'm completely opposed to. I ask him if this is all a joke or if he is being serious. I finally convince him to at least get an appetizer. I was not allowed to choose. He got guacamole, tableside, but only had them put onions and the avocado. I was planning my escape when he asked, "Are you figuring out how you are going to leave?" "Yep. Thanks for the one domestic beer. Bye." I've only had one bad one. And it was this girl who wouldn't shut up about her ex. It was, predictably, our only date. I had this happen to me. But I actually stuck it out and God, she kept at it for the next few weeks, months. Finally told her I can't do it anymore. Then she STFU. Dated for another 3 years. But had to ditch her because she was possessed by the devil after she had a few too many drinks. Once in the throes of desperation I decided to try and meet someone on Craigslist. I found a posting that seemed like a nice, not insane, fairly reasonable person that seemed to have common interests and we got along pretty well during our email exchange. We met up at a local outdoor mall to walk around and chat for a bit and decide where to go from there. She was far bigger than I had been led to believe. Had definite facial hair. And smelled terrible. Like a trooper. I decided to stick it out. Because maybe she's really nice in person. I figured worst case scenario. Contact with someone who wasn't a coworker or my family would be nice. Over the course of the date, she made multiple references to how nice it was to see so many other couples out and about that day. And attempted to name our future children and discuss weddings. There were some other red flag conversations that I don't recall. But it was odd. There was not a second date. We met on a dating website. And went to a sushi place for dinner. He was an asshole. He told me this. Repeatedly. Almost everything he said ended with "I know I'm an asshole." Right? First story he tells me is how he really only joined the dating website to troll people. But then he saw me and thought he'd give going on a real date a shot. Gee. Thanks. All his other stories were equally awful. Also, I'm pretty sure he literally thought no meant yes and yes meant no. I don't mean in a great kind of way. When we were at the restaurant he absolutely insisted that I order this one thing. I said no like 5 times. But he just kept pushing for it until I ordered it just to shut him up. Then after the dinner he wanted to go to the mall nearby and hang around. We walked around until we passed this anime manga store. He asked if I wanted to go in and I said sure. I like that store. He insisted I didn't. Said he didn't want to force me to go. I said no. I really do want to go in. We went in for like 2 minutes and then he decided he didn't want to force me to do something I didn't want to do and practically dragged me out of the store. I didn't call him back after that. I was a barista in a cafe during college and this loyal customer asked me out. Took me to sushi. Took me to bar and bought me a drink. Conversation good. Nothing spectacular, but he was cute and intelligent and funny. When he takes me home he parks outside of my house and assumes he's coming in. I'm like, no. Genuinely confused. He asks why not. He says he did everything right. He bought me dinner and a drink. So he should get to come inside. And we should have sex now. Because that's how it goes. And then we start arguing about it and I start to worry that he's going to just like enter my apartment whether I like it or not. I am having to literally explain that just because he bought me dinner does not mean I have to duck him. Then he puts on a Prince CD to try and get me in the mood. He actually said here. Just listen to this. Prince is sexy. All girls like Prince. I think I may have run when I finally got out of his car. Went out on a lunch tennis date with a guy. Lunch was fine. He was alright. So we went to play tennis. After 9 games in 80-degree weather. We're all sweaty, stinky, and gross. And he immediately comes over after the last game. Hugs me, then kisses me and sticks his tongue down my throat. I had to push him away. Totally grossed out by both the sweat and the tongue. And had to awkwardly tell him to his face I wasn't into him because I didn't want him to kiss me again. Gentlemen, play it safe and don't stick your tongue in your date's mouth on the first date. This can be a major turn off. I have no idea why all the men I've dated recently think tongue kisses on the first kiss are a good idea. You know. Stop. Or at least ask. Met at work over the summer a few years back. Figured a movie made the most sense so there wasn't time for awkward conversation lulls. Lo and behold. Picked Girl with a Dragon Tattoo because I never read it. That was awkward. In summary, long time ago, my girlfriend decided at the last minute she wanted to do dinner and a movie after weeks of her saying she didn't want to do anything for Valentine's Day. All restaurants were full busy, so we ended up at Burger King. The movie she was dying to go see? Schindler's List. Bad to worse, I refused to leave the movie. She sobbed through most of the first half and pleaded that we leave at the intermission. No. I paid for it and she wanted to see it so damned bad, we were staying. I had met this really attractive Russian girl on Match.com and after talking for a few days we decided to get dinner. It was just awkward and she kept on making it purposely more awkward by ignoring me. Rolling her eyes and constantly staring around at things. She got really annoyed our food wasn't coming after about 5 minutes. It was just so bizarre because on the phone we had gotten along pretty great but she just refused to make small talk during the date. Who does that? When the waitress came and asked about the check I blurted out separate. Didn't have much of a chance because I was hungover badly from the night before. Then he took me to the university dining hall for dinner. That's not too bad. But he didn't even offer to pay and he had a universal dining card so it would have cost him $0. Then we went to a show but got there 2 hours early and so we were just sitting there watching the band set up. Not talking.